What's up, everybody? It is Ulysses Owens Jr. Welcome to From the Drummer's Perspective. I'm so excited to be here. I just want y'all to give me a shout out. Let me know where y'all are in the comment section. Please let me know where you're chiming in from, whether it's Poland or we've had some from Belgium. We've had people from Brazil. Please let me know where you are. We're really excited. This is part of Open Studio and their incredible online digital platform. And I'm really fortunate to have taught several courses and have this really cool show. So I want to take a moment real quick and just introduce the incredible artist I have coming right now, and that is the great Daru Jones. And I have to tell you how I first encountered this incredible drummer, because I tell people one of the cool things about the drummer's perspective is that there's a very personal connection that I have with each artist that I have on this show. It's not just me looking in Modern Drummer or Drum Magazine and just picking people sort of out of a lineup. There's something that they're playing has done impactfully for me and changed how I see the kit and the music. So he doesn't know this yet. He's gonna learn this when he hops on in a second. But I was hanging out with a friend years ago in Brooklyn, getting some drinks, and we went to a spot called the 5 Spot. And there's an incredible bassist. His name is Nate Jones. And I remember this drum, like sitting down, I was like, oh, I don't feel like going somewhere to hear live music. Like I'm just hanging with friends, like, and I see this kid and it's like the snares tilted and, the drums are, I was like, man, what? And it was only like a snare drum and a bass drum and like a hi-hat. And I was like, man, this is a weird setup. So now I'm curious. So then anyway, it's Daru. He sits down. And when I tell you, I could not even focus on drinks or talking to my friend. It was the first time I saw a drummer, especially playing groove and hip hop, that mesmerized me on the level of a Max Roach or on the level of, a Sonny Payne. And I still will say, I think Daru is moonlighting as a jazz drummer. He is incredible. And then I started following him on Instagram. And it's amazing to see how he's all over the world and he's in demand, as a music director, as a producer. But what I love most about him is the level of positivity that he sort of emanates from his brand and his career. But I have to say, this brother is so excellent and so incredibly creative. And he is the first hip hop influence and inspired drummer that we've had on this episode. But I just thought that given the level of drummers that I've been able to interview and the level of artistry and mastery, Daru is on that level and beyond. And so I'm so honored to learn from him. I was geeked this whole morning to be able to talk to him. I think he's one of the just most incredible drummers on the planet. So let me shut up and welcome the incredible, the terrific, Adidas wearing Daru Jones. Or today you wearing Puma. What's up, bro?
Oh man, I'm so humble. Those are really kind words, and there's so much respect for you too, brother. You out in the field, you've been doing your thing. We all out here. Everybody's made in their own right, and much respect for you and this show that you're doing. It's great. It's great for the game and for these times that we're living in. Although things opening back up. But thank you so much for having me on your platform. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, it's an honor, man. And when I reached out to you on Instagram, I was like, because I feel like you're on that next level. I was like, man, I wonder if he's gonna respond. And you got right back to me. So anyway, man, I want to dive right in because your playing is so unique to me, and I want to really get into your journey. So obviously, I know you grew up playing in church, which was very similar to my story, but you grew up in a term I took from, I think it was Nate Smith or somebody recently. You grew up in pre-Pro Tools church. So can you just tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how you learned, and sort of how the drums called out to you?
That's a good question. So yeah, like you mentioned, I started off playing in church, and my mom and dad, they're both musicians. Rest in peace, Pops. I lost him a few years ago. But I learned, I came from an era where there was no YouTube, you know what I'm saying? And we had to, it was crazy because at the time, one of the skill sets that people recognized in me that I didn't realize until later that it would be an asset. They said I had a photographic memory. Like I could hear something one time and I'd be able to mimic it. But the drummer was a lot different back in the day. So I was listening to like cats like Dana Davis from Detroit, Michigan, who played with a group called the Winans, legendary Winans group. And another one of my heroes was Michael Williams. He played with a group called Commission. I'm sure you're familiar with Commission. So and it's so surreal because Dana Davis is a good friend of mine, and it's so bugged out to be able to have respect from people that I that was my heroes that I grew up to. But just people saying, "Yo, you had a great photographic memory. You can," but that was when I was listening to the gospel. Now, back in the days, it wasn't gospel chops. It was about playing pocket. It was
Exactly.
It was a different vibe, and it was all about. And I know, you know, the gospel's still the same, where we all playing, you know, for everybody to praise at your highest level. That's what the church is about, you know, giving your best. I think that's where the terminology Sunday's best came from, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least one part of it. At least one part of it is all about giving God your best and making a connection from your heart. So just, you know, I used to just emulate whatever Dana Davis was on, whatever records he was on. I had to have it. You know, he was playing with Witness and a lot of the gospel people, and I had. And actually, I remember seeing Dana, because we used to go to the Young Artists for Christ. That was a convention that they had in the Midwest. And Michael Brooks, I think he was over it. He was a part of the group called Commission, which is the group that Fred Hammond is originally in.
Of course.
So, you know, that's the history. But I just remember going there and just like, dang, like there was not people video recording. Just like you had to be in that moment, and you had to absorb, you had to absorb everything what you can. And I think that I'm glad that I came up at that time, because it was just about like, yo, if this drummer is playing, I need to be there because I got to see it.
Right.
It wasn't like you missed it and you got to catch it on the internet. Nah, I just think that it was different just being in that room, just being inspired, seeing my heroes, and that was very impactful. And then later on, as a young teenager, I got exposed to the Buddy Rich Memorial Series concerts.
Okay.
Yeah. So to try to make this long story short, growing up Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ, coach.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could listen to secular. We were told not to listen to secular music. Anything outside of gospel was a no-no. But of course, I snuck. You know, I was like, when I found out, when I went to school and I heard my friends talking about certain, you know, genres of music. And anyway, one of my mentors, he grew up the same way I did, but he also, you know, was listening to jazz, and we all just gravitated. But when he I think he gifted me the Buddy Rich Memorial Series. No, you know, I take that back. It was one of my other mentors that actually gifted me Tony Williams Live in New York on VHS.
Wow.
And my head was cracked. I was just like, more notes.
Yeah.
It's not just pocket stuff. That it was like more notes, and it was the music was geared around you know, drummers expressing themselves, not just playing pocket, but you know, being very musical. So, you know, I just remember that time, and then eventually I would take chart reading lessons because my mom, she wanted me to advance and learn how to, you know, learn how to read. And then I remember going to the cash register, seeing these instructional videotapes, and I'm like, yo, what's that? And then I got she bought me Terry Bozzio solo drums. That was my first tape as a kid that I had, and my head was cracked because what I admired about Terry Bozzio, it was no other instrumentation. It was just drums. And he was playing all the ostinato. So that was some of my beginnings, just you know, outside of the gospel, and then eventually finding out about this jazz. And I'm like, yo, I wanted to learn every drummer that was out. And then eventually I started getting exposed to all the other Memorial Series. Outside of the Vinny Colaiuta, Steve Gaddam, that was the first one. But I just started who was this drummer? G. Jeanette Chambers, and then I just went full in. I started trying to study. And I have photographic memory until I started listening to those drummers, because there was a lot more notes. It wasn't as easy to play.
Exactly. So no, man, I loved it. So Daru, with that said, I want to go a little bit further back with the gospel. So were you, since you grew up Kojic, you know, because I grew up Church of God and but Pentecostal as well. But so were you introduced to playing the drums alongside the organ, you know, traditional organ and a choir? So that was how you started.
Yes, because my mom and dad, they were both musical directors and choir directors. So that's why
same. My mom's a choir director.
That's where I got that skill set. I didn't realize it until later on, but yeah, it was just and it was crazy because my mom and dad, they were playing them freaking bass pedals with their foot.
Wow. So they played organ.
They played organ.
Whoa. Okay.
My mom still plays organ.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. So you grow up with this because to me that's really key. That not only do you grow up in the church, like a lot of us, but you grow up with parents that were musicians and also directors. So I have to ask before we transition to another key part of your career. Was there any instructions? Did your mom and dad say to you, and was it infused with parenting? Was it, because I know my mom as a choir director was like, hey, you got to focus or you got to do different things. And that was kind of merged in with her parenting. Was it the same? Like, boy, you better keep the groove or you better do this, so what was that like having parents that were also musicians and, how they guided you along?
That's a great question. So when I grew up, there was literally a line of drummers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I learned how to play drums by watching my cousins and uncles at the age of 4, like just seeing them play. So at least one person or two persons, people on the cousin side in each family played drums. So that means it was crazy. Everybody had their own style, which I'm glad I got the chance to see that. But if you were dragging a beat or you was playing too fast, they were sliding you off.
Yeah.
You get slid off.
Yep.
So that only had to happen to me a couple times.
Oh wow.
I didn't want to be the number. So yeah, just as far as my parents, I just remember by everybody having their own style, I just watched who the drummers were getting all the shine time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So it's the reason why this particular drummer, because back in the days, everybody had a singing group. That was a big thing. Musicals, midnight musicals. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had their group. And I was wondering, why is this particular cousin of mine playing for all the groups?
Wow.
Because he had that pocket and he had the dynamic. He was able to push. And I just was very watchful. I was like, all right, cool. There's two things you can learn from a drummer or people anyway. You can learn what to do and what not to do. So
absolutely.
My thing, I just was watching and seeing why did this person, they pick this particular drummer, and as far as my parents, it wasn't until later on that I understood, because back in the days, it was about driving the service. And that foot, they wanted to hear that foot.
Yep.
To me, shop music, it was like disco, like that disco.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yo, it's dance music. Worship, dance. Daru. You know what I'm saying? It's like disco. So yeah, that's what get people dancing. That drive, that constant pocket. I know the pockets are a little bit different nowadays with the extra, but it's all good. They still got a way to get that bounce. But back in the day, it was about having that constant, and it all made sense. That's why my uncle, when he got on the drums, it would like lift the service. So I just noticed I would watch certain drummers that I admire, like my cousins and uncles, and I was like, dang, by them all having different styles, I was like, man, you knew the difference when one person got on the drums, whether it was the dynamic and the touch. But when like a certain person got on the drums, it's like they put that extra dB, you know what I'm saying? And that's the disco vibe. So that's one of the things that my mom, they wanted. When you see the people that singing, when they do this, or they like, that's you don't want to be in that position. So I just learned, like my mom, she was like, yo, I need to hear that drive, that because people are they're trying to catch the spirit. They need to hear that dance bounce. Yeah. So that was one of the things that they wanted to instill in me. Yep.
Beautiful, man. So the one thing that was really, I should say, the two things to me that are so unique about you, Daru, and your groove playing, is your traditional grip. So I have to ask you, with your interview, I'm going to go in and out of just like concept and then just drum nerd stuff.
Okay.
Your ability to put, to me, you set up like, a bebop drummer, with hip hop drums. And then you have this approach, like you look almost like, a cross between Sonny Payne and, Papa Joe. I mean, but seriously, like when I study, because I'm a jazz drummer. So when I study you, that's what threw me off, because I was at the 5 spot and I'm seeing a kit that, tilted like that. Because just to give some of the viewers a little bit of history, when you have the tilted snare drum, for most jazz drummers, we tilt that because we all play traditional, so that the stick lays a certain way, because you're playing in the center of the drum head. But most funk drummers either play, match, or if they do play traditional, they have the snare flatter or even tilt it the other way so they could get a fat backbeat. So Daru, how did you come up with playing traditional and the fact that you're hitting hard? Because it's really you, Steve Jordan, maybe Keith Carlock. There's only a few of y'all that are playing traditional, playing groove. So you got to unpack that for us.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot more out there too. Shout out to everybody all the OGs, and but yeah, it's crazy because I want to say I didn't grow up your traditional way. Like I learned how to play by ear, so all of the nerd stuff I just came from that raw. You be inspired, you pick up the sticks and you just play. So the other rules, but basically, I remember seeing the Buddy Rich Memorial Series and all the drummers that when I got exposed to the jazz drummers, I noticed they all held the stick that way. And when I became a huge fan of Vinny Colaiuta, which is one of my friends too, I was like, yo, how's this cat playing all these flavorings with this traditional grip? So I was like, I learned that early, like as a young, like 10, 11-year-old, you know. And I know people play traditional younger than that, but that's all I knew. Like I didn't want to, like, I think for me, one of the things that I'm thankful that I got to see those different styles. It gave me a mindset to be like, whatever this person is doing, I want to do the opposite. So whatever the trend was, whatever everybody else was doing, I wanted to go the opposite way, and that's always been my mentality. You know what I'm saying? And that comes with a gift and a curse. The curse is people think you're a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yo, I've always been like left. You know, and I don't know. I guess I was born that way, but I don't know. But it's you taking the chance. But just being inspired by Buddy Rich and all those cats playing, I was like, yo, I'm about to play this in church. And it was only me and my mentor that I saw playing. And I didn't realize it was a thing. A lot of times you don't realize this stuff until later on. Like, yo, that's crazy. But I just learned how to play, and then I developed the muscling, and I tried my best to. It wasn't until later on that I felt like I needed to go back between sometimes match grip to get more power, especially playing the rock and roll stuff. But
I saw that.
But for the most part, it was just because that's what I saw when I got inspired by that new world of jazz drumming. I was like, I want to do what they're doing and bring it to the church. You know what I'm saying?
And so then what about that? So that explains the traditional grip, because you know, definitely with Vinny. But now what about the tilting of the drums and the minimalism of the drums that you don't use? Because, you know, again, you talk about the OGs of hip hop gospel drumming. You talk about Gerald Hayward and you know, a lot of those cats. They were using respect, right? They were using tons of drums. So again, how did you go to that step of tilting and using less stuff than everybody else?
Okay, that's a great story. So as far as the minimalizing the drum kit, I remember seeing our legendary brother Amir Questlove. Shout out to him.
Shout out.
Cool. Much respect, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And congrats to all the things the achievements. But I remember seeing him when I saw the Roots. That was my first introduction to a hip hop band playing live hip hop instrumentation. And I remember seeing, like, why did this cat just have a floor tom and a snare drum? And he's one of the funkiest, playing some of the funkiest groups ever. I remember seeing like ads in like a magazine. I'm like, this is crazy. So when I started becoming this hip hop drummer, like in the early mid 2000s, I noticed that I didn't need all those drums to play that music, because it was just about playing groove. You know what I'm saying? So I, as drummers, we all evolve, and everybody have their own lane. So some people, they just want to do what they do, and that's their lane. But for my lane, I knew as a young teenager that I felt like that I wanted to be a genre-bending drummer, taking the page out of cats like Steve Gadd, one of my biggest influences. You put him in any situation, he doesn't overplay. He gets the job done, but he got his swag as well. And like Vinny and so on and so forth, Omar King, they service the music, and I feel like that was my mission, to be able to, and that's why I feel like my gifts were going to be bigger than the church. Like, I don't take anything away from my upbringing, because it may be who I am today. But I knew early that I feel like God wanted to take me outside of the gospel, you know, and still represent, of course, and live a certain way. But yeah, that was pretty much when I seen the Questlove drum kit. I was like, okay, cool. I started playing hip hop drums. With these hip hop artists, I don't need all these drums, so I downsized it. But again, my mentality coming from the hip hop world, if you're caught biting or looking like somebody, or you get called out, you know what I'm saying? So that's like that stayed with me. I remember back in the day, just getting introduced to the hip hop world. Yo, they were notorious. Like, if you sounded like another MC, or you had the same haircut or outfit, you had trouble. You know, you was about to get in a fight. So I just had that mentality, like, I'm starting to, you know, play this music where I don't need all the time. So Amir was definitely an influence on me downsizing my kit. But I was like, all right, now that I'm doing this, I don't want to be a carbon a knockoff of Amir. So what can I do to get my own identity? So I went within, and since I play traditional grip on the left side, I was like, all right, I already started tilting the snare drum. Then one day I was like, man, what would it be? What would it, So it was off of looks. I was just trying to find an identity.
Wow. Yeah.
It wasn't no type of scientific reason to have the tilts. It was just
so I
could have my own look, because all the drummers that I looked up to in the Mayat, like Vinny, Wecco, they all had a certain thing that gave them their identity. Vinny had the China on the left, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Terry Bozzio had the black hair. It was like all these different nuances.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to find an identity. I knew at some point, although I used to try to mimic and be like them, I knew at one point I needed to find, go down and find my own thing, because I never wanted to be in the same room with my heroes and they'd be like, yo, you just a knockoff. I wanted to have that respect. So basically the drum tilting was just to have an image, and then I had to figure out how to play the thing, and then I had to change my vocabulary. And it actually forced me to be conscious of the fills that I play. So now, versus having this comfortability, whatever I do, it gotta count. It gotta really make sense, because I'm not just going up. I'm going down, and then I don't have that many sounds. So I had to figure out how many sounds can I get from this one drum. It just really forced me to be creative.
Man, this is amazing. So I know we have a limited amount of time, so I want to kind of target a couple points. The first, and thank you for that. The first question I have is, can you treat me like I'm a person that never played the drums before? What is it that makes a hip hop drum groove? Because I feel like growing up, playing funk, and then gospel, you have sort of the doom doom da, all these different grooves. What is it that you had to learn to transition to being a hip hop drummer? Like sort of hip hop drumming 101.
Okay, so as you know, hip hop has evolved. There's a lot of different styles of hip hop. As you know, they have trap. They have the trap vibe, which is a whole different vibe. You know what I'm saying? Just like in jazz, they have the bebop, straight ahead, smooth jazz. So it's the same thing that's happening to hip hop. So the type of hip hop that I grew up on and that I got exposed to was the boom bap stuff that was in the 90s. And a lot of those producers that I looked up to and admired, shout out to DJ Premier, Pete Rock, actually playing Pete Rock's band, and Dr. Dre, RZA, all those Q-Tip, the list goes on. Those specific, Premier and Pete Rock, definitely in the 90s, they were sampling, a lot of, some James Brown stuff, some Meter stuff. And those drummers that played, they played on a one. You know what I'm saying? So one of my mentality for and one of the things I think that helped me get more work was respecting the original composition. Whoever produced the track, learning a record like the record.
Wow.
And listening to the details. The details. A lot of people don't, pay attention to detail, but it's all those things that will, put you in a certain position. At least for hip hop music. Now, when you play other genres, you can probably deviate. But for what I wanted to do, I think that's what helped me to just respecting the original composition. Why did Premier sample that, or why did Pete Rock sample Funky Drummer and Clap? Like, why did they take the specific section of these drums and loop it? And it all goes back to like James Brown. Shout out to Boosie Collins, my uncle.
Right.
Uncle, not biologically, but musically.
Oh, I was like,
what? Uncle Boots. They always talk about this. They always talk about this playing on the one, and I understood that. This is like this. So it's just the repetition of this loop and making it feel like an NPC. So and I also think what helped me as well, I became a composer as a young teenager. I learned how to use the S900, a Kai sampler.
Wow.
I started composing, so that helped me understand producing, and I basically try to bring that production element to my playing. So
okay.
So, does that help?
And just to go a little bit further, so are you saying that part of being a hip hop or playing hip hop drums is not just a groove, but it's also a groove matching a sample or an electronic template? Is that sort of what you're saying as well?
So for people that are not drummers, like when you of course this is oversaid, but Funky Drummer is one of the greatest examples,
right?
Because just that mixing that loop. That's why it's one of the most sampled drum patterns in history. But it's just something about that. Oh, and another example I can give too is like Phil Collins. Like the way Phil Collins played is so elementary, but it's so dope and it's so musical. The people that are not drummers, they can play it. Do. Like I've saw people that are not drummers, or even elderly people, or just people just play like air drumming.
Yeah,
like, man. So just being able to just simplify it.
Okay.
Simplify a 2 and 4 groove.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 1, 2, 3, and just making that feel as good as possible. And all hip hop is really that. Well, a certain style of hip hop is that play fast or slow, right?
Wow.
So just making that 4/4 groove feel like a loop.
Right. Okay. So that's key. So making the groove, so playing a repetitive pattern and making it feel like a looped pattern that is on a record. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So,
no, that's key.
I don't want to give away all the secrets, but that's
no. Well, the reason why I'm doing that is because we live in, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but we're living in an information age, and you and I both on our Instagram, which we're very active on, where you've got people saying this is what hip hop is, this is what jazz is, and a lot of times it's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yes.
And one of the things that I always tell people is Instagram and all that is great, YouTube is great, TikTok or whatever, but make sure the source that you're going to is a source that is linked to the roots of this music, not somebody who just understands marketing. And so that's why you as a part, which I'm going to get into a second with all the gigs you've had, you're respected about all these great artists and DJs. So I needed you to explain what hip hop is, because you are working with hip hop artists, and some of them are the architects of this music, and not somebody who just has a great drum channel. So that's why
I'm glad you said that, because and this diss, because we all evolve as drummers, right? We get excited and we're like, okay, I've been playing jazz all this time. Let me just add that hip hop. My only thing is like, okay, it's just a double-edged sword, because it's like we all get excited, and one day I may wake up, all right, I want to play Caribbean. Well, I have played calypso music, but maybe like a different style that I haven't played, and I may not have all the rules and the formula. So I just think it gets watered down, because you don't really know the essence of you know what I'm saying? Because like there's rules, even with learning how to play another style. So it's like I've seen fusion guys play hip hop, and they some of the best. They very, but it's like I just still think that there's just a formula still, just so you can at least respect the essence.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's just like it gets lost, and it loses the. I'm not trying to go off on a tangent and like that, but I hope you understand what I'm.
Absolutely.
And I think it's okay for us to grow as musicians, because I've done it. Like I had eras in my career where I played only gospel. I transitioned, played jazz, moved forward, played Caribbean music, and then soul and so on. But I just think it's important to at least get the basics of the mechanics. That way you can be playing it right. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because I'm currently not playing all that straight ahead, vibe, and I love it, and it's very dope. But I would have to practice to really get back in shape for that. So I'm not gonna put myself in that situation.
Exactly.
Because it makes it look bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not a good look.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna be like, yo, this is my guy right here. You know what I'm saying?
And vice versa. You're not gonna hear me playing next to an MPC either. You know what I mean? So no, I appreciate that. A few other questions, Daru. You're one of the most working drummers. We laughed about it earlier, but I see you on Instagram, and you're one of the other people I see. Well, one day you're in London, one day you're here, one day you're in LA. Which we're all blessed and glad to be working. Can you maybe just give me 3 keys to being able to work with the artists you've worked with? And I'll just call them out for our audience who may not know. You've worked with you started with Slum Village. You've worked with Pete Rock, Jack White, Nas, Kim Burrell, Rance Island, John B, Talib Kweli, Kweli. So these are just some, these are just some of the people that you work with. And if you don't know anything about hip hop or popular music, most of the people I've called on this list, even the gospel artists, are at the upper echelon of the industry. So this lets me know you are an A-list player. What would you say were 3 tips to getting to being an A-list player? You know, for the person who's admiring this talk, because I have a lot of my audience is a mixture of, you know, people who just dig it, you know, dig watching the show, but also students who are pulling gems from this on how to get better. So what are 3 keys to becoming an A-list in-demand player like you are?
All right. The three are relationship.
Oh, okay. Unpack this. Why did you say relationship 3 times?
Because it's the most important thing ever. It's like it's very important. And I mean individual relationship, even building with the brands, it's very important, even with the artists that you work with. Relationship.
Wow.
So important.
I love that.
because you know, like when you go to the conventions like PASIC, NAM, everybody wants free stuff when you get at a certain point in your career, right?
Right.
But it's like you out of a million. What's going to separate? You know what I'm saying? Unless So you know what I've learned is those companies have to look out and sign certain drummers a certain amount every year. So if it's like a lottery, like if you hot, if you want to sing, you doing your thing, you may be up next for one. You know what I'm saying? But for the people that are building, I remember going to those conventions and trying to get on. I remember having my press kit. You know what I'm saying? Like my bio and tapes trying to get on. But it wasn't until those people, they started seeing me every year, every time, just building those relationships and just being cool. Not even talking about give me.
Yeah.
You just build that relationship with people and you build that conference. That's what's going to open the door. Because basically, back in the days, you needed to have skill, but things are different nowadays because you have people, you know, they do one cool thing on YouTube and they the next thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But back in the days when you had to pay your dues, you know, you had to be skills. You had to learn how to read. You had to know how to dress. It was all these layers. You know what I'm saying? So for now, you know, those things are just a plus. But I think people hire you because they like you.
Woo! Yeah, Daru. Yeah.
They want to know they want to know if they can be on a tour bus with you.
Yep.
Away from their family. And you don't have an attitude, you know. So it's all those relationships. Just being on time, of course. Learning the music.
Yeah.
It's like preparing yourself before you get to the rehearsal, knowing it before you get there. But relationships, to me, that's worked up in my favor because, you know, when you up against all these other amazing players, it's just like, man, you know what I'm saying? You just waiting, but it's just like those relationships. Shake your hand, being nice, let them see your face. That's really important, and just what you put out in the universe, how you treat your brother and sister, because the industry is small, the game is small, right? So if you got a reputation for being dope on for whatever you do, but you got a bad attitude or you don't know how to, it don't matter how dope you are, they're gonna be like, we get somebody else because we don't
Absolutely.
they don't want that energy. You know, on because you may have to go out on tour. You got to know
absolutely
those energies is a transfer. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I want to convey.
Cool. That's amazing. I got 2 more questions. The next one for me is, you know, when I look at you, Daru, and study your career and all that, you are entrepreneurial. You know, and you know, I have a big passion for that. I've written a book about creative entrepreneurship, and you know, and my push is for this generation. In addition to them being musical, they need to be entrepreneurial. And I've seen you create drum sets that have your branding. You have drum heads with your branding. You have cymbals. You have drumsticks. You have, you know, I've seen you on Drumeo. You know, you got all these great things. And to your point, you're not just engaging with these products, but you are now branding and bringing an entrepreneurial level of just creating your own terrain. Can you talk just very briefly about did you intentionally think yourself to be entrepreneurial, or did you have desires to, you know, be on sort of work with companies in that way, or was it something that just kind of arrived at you? But because I feel like you're a serial entrepreneur, like you're like an entrepreneur rather.
Appreciate
So
it.
so if you want to talk about that, because I know I know part of the hip hop game is you don't expose every, you know.
Yeah,
So what do you think about when you hear the word entrepreneurship?
no, I appreciate it. I'm thankful. I give God the glory. I'm thankful,
Mhm.
and I don't take it for granted, you know. But as far as the branding side, it's just something that I seen coming up. You know, you have,
Hmm.
you know, when you see Prince, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He wore his rock the stilettos, they all had their
Hmm.
brand, you know, and Michael
Wow.
Jackson wore the gloves, they all had their brand.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Wow. Wow.
you know, just in the drummer world, I remember seeing other cats that was entrepreneur, like, you know, Virgil Donati. Who
Hmm.
else?
Yeah, I mean
Tom
Dave Walkle,
Dave Wacko. Yeah, them cats.
Dennis
Yeah,
Chambers,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if those drummers all wanted it, but they just came out at a time where companies, they was like, "Yo, we can make some money, so we're gonna give y'all signature
yeah,
sticks."
yeah,
But you
yeah.
know, I just think that that's just the other part. By me, you know, also being in the hip hop world and being a producer, you know, that really schooled me mentally, like as far
Hmm.
as like the branding thing. Like, okay,
Okay.
you know, I remember seeing like the rappers like EPMD, LL Cool J, they all rocked Kangos. Like, so
Yeah.
like my style is definitely a tidbit and a tribute, um and homage to keeping that going. You know what I'm saying? Just it's like it's not just playing, it's a whole package. So when you hiring me, you're not just getting my plan, you getting the swag, you getting all these things. So
Wow, Daru.
the prices are the way they are. You know, I'm going to learn your music. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these, but it just, you know, to each his own. Everybody
Yeah.
don't want to be that type of drummer, so you don't have to. Don't beat yourself down if you're not like the next man. Like
Right.
I really honestly believe that we all have something unique and special. We just got to
Yeah.
find out. You got to go within and
Yeah.
find out what it is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
I
but
I love that.
as far as the branding, it's just something that I saw. You know,
Hmm.
as a producer in the hip hop
Okay.
world, they
Okay.
had things that's associated, and I'm just thankful. You know that it's not a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mm-hmm.
paying tribute to the music that I do. Hip hop is all about fashion. Now,
Right. Right.
sometimes before you even rock a mic, you can be looking so fresh, and the way you look can just make people think, "Oh man, this dude is."
Right.
I don't
Right.
know what
Right.
he about
Right.
to do, but he
Right.
looked like he dope. But
Right. Right.
it's only a plus if you got the skill too. So I
Right.
always say the look, image is everything. They've
Mm-hmm.
been saying that. I heard that as a youth.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it just defaultly by building up that Music Records. You know, I've been as a producer. That was my
Mm-hmm.
style. You know, I branded that term from like music, Rusic. I took because my name is Daru. I took the
No.
R off the music,
Ah.
and basically, the soul hop came from. You know, I remember becoming a super born again Christian, like really heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to figure out, man, how could I still be a fan of hip hop music but still do gospel? So I basically just fused it together, soul hop, and instead of producing rappers, I started producing soul singers. And I would always at that time try to make sure they wasn't talking crazy, like the content wasn't, because you know we
Yeah.
came up the hip hop we came up in. You talk about NWA, you know,
Yeah.
it was stuff that you know you could listen to in front of your parents. So we
Mm-hmm.
so I just was trying to figure out how could I still, you know, keep the mechanics, because I just gravitated to the hip hop
Yeah.
producers, of course, because of
Yeah.
the production and the drums. But yeah, that branding thing, it just I think if once you pay dues, you keep doing your thing, it's gonna. I think the universe will
Yeah.
eventually meet up with you, and
Uh,
that's even with getting endorsements. You know,
yeah.
I would say for
Absolutely.
everybody gonna have their time. When that time
Absolutely.
comes, if you're ready for it, you're gonna get it, and you got to
Yep.
make sure you
Absolutely.
watchful, because you know it. But if it just you just gotta wait your turn.
Yeah. Man, I love that, and you know what I also I had a feeling about it, but what has been confirmed by talking to you is I hear this undercore of your spirituality, and I don't mean that in the terms of religion, but this sense of spirituality and grounded nature that you
Oh
have,
man.
which is what embodies your playing. You know, when I see you play, it's your playing is rooted and grounded from something. So
Thank you.
I want to say, you know what, you know, as we end this episode, because I could keep you here all day, but you know, you're in demand. How
We can
First of all,
go
what do you have?
as long as you need. I know we both got stuff to do, so I'm
Okay.
here. I'm here.
Okay, cool. So let me get a couple other questions in. Talk
Hmm.
about I'm also a drummer and a producer. can you talk to me about you mentioned earlier that you were producing, or you sort of were composing. How did you get into the hip hop or even soul hop producing? Because I know in that world it's very specific of MPC, sampling, all that. So who, or not necessarily who, but what are some things that you were maybe taught? Because I know we got a lot of drummers out here making beats. So if there's any level of advice you want to give based on your journey with that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a teacher. I just had an older mentor that showed me how to use equipment.
Okay.
Which was the S900, and before that, I remember one of my friends gifted me with this Casio keyboard, and it had the 4 buttons.
Yeah,
like a little sampling time. I don't know if you remember that. This is like,
yeah, I remember. Yeah, I have one.
I'm showing my age now.
Yeah, brother. We right there together. Joy, you had the 2 fingers.
yo. I remember getting that, and I was like, yo, this is so cool. I had a little cassette that I would plug into that keyboard, and the sampling time was less than, it wasn't even a minute, but that's how I learned how to sample. And then my mentor was like, yo, you need to take what you putting on cassette and use real equipment. So he showed me how to use S900, and I had to learn how to put everything on floppy disk and resample it to get a higher. But basically, I know back in the days, like hearing some stories like RZA and certain producers, they got the equipment and they never read the manual. They just figured it out. And I can honestly say that was the same for me. I didn't read manuals. I just think that doesn't work for everybody. Do what works for you.
Right.
But if you had the advantage of learning how to use equipment, I think that can only help you find all the cheat codes. So I would just say, we have YouTube nowadays, so there's many tutorials to cheat. But how I learned, I just had to figure it out. I had to just, that's what that button do? Oh, that's how you do it? That's what this does?
And what about, real quick, Daru, I just want to interject. What about Logic, Pro Tools, Ableton? What are your thoughts about, do you favor one over the other as well, now that we're no longer using floppy disk and all that?
Okay, so I'm about to crack your head. I don't even know how to use Pro Tools. I don't know how to use Logic.
Well, so when you have your laptop on those videos, what are you using? What are you?
Yo, I'm using Garage.
Get out of here.
Yo. So listen, I'm gonna tell y'all. Like, I learned how to just, growing up. Everybody don't grow up with money, and I had to just. Back in the days, I had to just make the best of whatever I had, and it forced. So I was put in positions in environments where I had to figure it out. I had to take what I had and figure out how to make it. So like that, like I said, I had the Casio, and then I had a drum machine, which was a Roland R5, and I would just sync them up, press start at both of them at the same time, and make cassette beat tapes. So and then fast forward, I remember getting the Boss, what's this, the 303. I got that, but I've never only hard device that I had was the S900, and we used to use Cakewalk, and I'm really sure.
Wow.
Cakewalk
that's back in the day, bro.
We had the Cakewalk, we had the computer, but but GarageBand, I just say find what works for you. You got Ninth Wonder and them cats using Fruity Loops and making some of the funkiest hip hop beats ever. So don't limit yourself. But if you do have access to the MPC and Pro Tools, just learn it. It can only make you. It can only take less time, because that's the only thing when you don't really know how to use the stuff. It takes more time. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I have to bring up, with that said, 2 artists that you produced that I am crazy about. One that I actually been hearing about her since she was in Howard University. And that's Musina. And my boy Nicholas Gant, he and I
that's
very
man. That's my
man. So
man.
Nick and I grew up when I was at Juilliard. You and I are ministry kids. I actually had a Bible study, and Nicholas used to be part of my Bible study. So I've known him since those years, and he was always talking about Musina. So I used to hear her early bootlegs, and then I also saw you work with Jesse Boykins, who I'm crazy about. So can you just tell us maybe a little bit about your
that's a great question. I think I came up at a good time. I came up in that transition when the neo soul was kind of transitioning.
Yeah,
it's like early, almost mid 2000s, and it was a certain era, and I was in that pocket. I had, and that's when that soul hop it paid off. Those beat tapes that I was making and the vision that I had as a teenager. So I was doing that early.
Okay.
I had those success, but it took years later for it to come in style. So basically, just working with Jesse Borkins, I just came in at a time where all those people they were bubbling, they were about to be hot. So I was able to have access. We Jesse Borkins used to come to Nate Jones, you know what I'm saying, at the
that thing down there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I came in at a time where all those cats they were grinding, just like when Soul Aquarians, when they all bubbled, they probably didn't know that what they were doing was going to be a thing. They just so happened to be friends, and they all came together. They made all this music, and then years later, it's this thing. So for me, I just so happened to be around doing that pivotal part when the soul, the neo soul. A lot of the people at the time, you had like Music Soul Child, they were singing R&B over hip hop beats.
Right.
And that was my whole vision with the music records and soul hop as a teenager.
Yeah.
So I had already been making that type of vibe.
So
when it years later, I was able to be like, those artists was looking to do the similar vibe. So, I was able to work with Messina. I remember she came out with her first project, and her manager at the time, Mecca. She had a bunch of acapellas from that release, and she wanted to have different producers like do remixes. And I remember they had to be like over 10, and out at the time it was. I like to challenge myself. I like to remix songs that people didn't think I could that people would normally do. So that was my challenge as a producer. How could I flip the original? You know what I'm saying? Because if the original was already dope, it's like, how can I make it? I won't say better, but like just make it. So I just came out at a time where you had like Jesse Borkins, and you had our brother Nicholas, and who was W. Ellington Felton. It was a lot of those cats that I was around. I was playing with.
Okay.
So I'm thankful. That's how that worked out, and
I love that, man. Daru, what are maybe 3 to 5 records that, like, if someone were to say, especially our audience today, they're like, man, I really love, hearing this cat talk and his philosophy. What are the 3 to 5 entry point, whether it's a track, a single, EP, that is an intro to your playing? Not you giving dap, because I know you give dap like me to a bunch of other cats, but intro to Daru Jones, in 5 records or 5 tracks.
Okay. There's this group that I played with called the Rough Pack, group from Austria. Shout out to those guys, Steph and Matt, and we had a project. I think it was called With You. It's a project called With You, if I'm not mistaken. That's the name of the project, and I think it came out in 2013 or 12. The title track is called With You, and that's just that beat that I'm playing it's like a signature, vibe. And what else? Lazaretto is the track that I played on for Jack White. It's this second solo record that came out, and that's the track to check out because my drums are definitely highlighted and defiant on that. Another track to check out. It's actually a new track with Pete Rock. It's called "Say It Again," and it's from the Instrumentals, Volume 3. And it's Pete Rock and the Soul Brothers, which is the band. I'm the music director and the drummer. That's one of the tracks that people can check out. That highlight. What else? What else is out there? I'm drawing a blank.
That's fine. If you wanna just leave it with those, that's fine too. I just wanted to give people an entryway to you.
Oh, another. They can check out the So the Rough Pack With You.
Yeah.
Jack White, Lazaretto. Pete Rock and the Soul Brothers. Say It Again. Dang. I would need to have my computer in front.
No, it's fine. So we'll go with that. With that said, Daru, I appreciate you being here. Can you just let us know, what do you have coming up? What's next for you? I think you had a sound check or something today. So tell us about that, and then we have a video that we're going to leave our audience with as well. If you want to maybe introduce that. So what you got going on, and then the video.
Okay, yeah. So that's a good question. I'm pretty low key. Some things I can talk about.
That's fine.
But and then there's some things that's because
of course
it's just disclosed. I can't really mention. But I recently just got back from London. I was got a chance to reunite with Jack White.
Nice.
I'm thankful they had us out there. He has a brand new store. Third Man Records is his label, and they have 2 other locations, one in Detroit, and I think the first one started in Nashville, and they just opened one in London. And
Wow.
he brought us over there to celebrate and also perform for the grand opening. So
Wow.
it was besides performing at SNL last year, it was like my first time doing like a full performance sort of, with Jack. So I'm excited about that. So that's something that just recently happened.
Cool.
And we'll see what the future holds.
Cool.
Let me see what else. Oh, so I'll be in New Orleans on the 15th. I'll be playing with Marcus Machado.
Nice.
He's a guitarist from Brooklyn, New York, and he's also in a couple of other bands that I play with.
Okay.
Pharaoh Months, we have a group called 13, nice. And Pharaoh was a part of the group called Organized Confusion.
Yeah.
And we have a group called 13, and we just came out with a release earlier this year, and we actually got a show. I can't announce it. I think they put it together, but we got a show. Okay. Stay tuned. I can mention that because we're going to be doing that soon. So look out for the 13 show coming soon. Marcus Machado in New Orleans on the 15th. There's a couple other things coming up, but yeah, that's
fine. Tell us where we can find you. I know I love you. Got to check him out on Instagram at Daru Jones. But what any other? Do you want to give people whether it's a website or Facebook or?
Yeah, you can check me out. All the socials on my website, and that's Rusic Records. That's RUSIC Records.com. Cool. Rusic Records, all one word, and you can find me on all the socials at Daru Jones. I try my best to respond to everybody, when I can. Which people don't understand. That's a job within itself.
It is
social media, like back in the days, they had the publicists, they had people doing it for them.
Yeah,
but we can't. We're not just drummers. We're like, you know what I'm saying? We like our journalists.
Bro,
we documenting. We got to
photographers, videographers,
everything just to stay relevant. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful for those platforms because it allows people that may not be able to get seen, by the masses. Back in the days, you had to just grind, but nowadays you can just record yourself, and let people see your work, and who knows what can happen from it. So I'm thankful. But it's just all in how you use your platforms.
Absolutely.
Do you want to use a platform to be negative, or do you want to use a platform to add something to the world? And that's the side that I prefer to be on, because we only have one life to live. And what do you want your legacy to be? Like, do you want to add to the planet, or do you want to take away? Now, I do believe that there's a thing called balance, and I just think that there's a time to laugh, and there's a time to but there's also what are you going to contribute? It's all about sharing and bringing up the next generation, because we're not going to always be hot. So it's important. I just I don't even say I'm a gatekeeper, but whatever. People give all these titles, but I'm all about championing the next dudes. You know what I'm saying? Because I know how it is having heroes, and you want to get on, but then sometimes you meet your heroes, and sometimes they may not be as nice as you imagine, or you being dope and you not getting the recognition. So it's enough for all of us. It's so many different styles. It's enough for all of us. And I think if you be respectful, build the relationships, and watch how you treat people, treat people like how you want to be treated. I just think that it's enough for all of us. Ain't no need of us backbiting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love it, man. And on that note, Daru, I appreciate you so much. And I just want you to know, man, I'm a huge fan, and I just love your energy. And thank you for taking the time. We do have a video we're going to leave the audience with, but I just want to thank you for the people that are going to be with us next week. We tune in again next Wednesday. We're excited. Check the roster. I think we got Sherry Miracle next week. But again, thank you, Daru, for being brilliant. And everybody, please check out this brother. And thanks for making Drummer's Perspective history and being the first hip hop drummer on the show. So thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Much respect to you, brother. Keep doing your thing. I'm a fan as well. You're champion that vibe, and I love it. I'm looking forward to crossing paths and doing something. I want to shout out the brands. DW. I'm a DW artist, Remo artist, Peisty artist, a head drumsticks artist. I have products with them all. Daru Jones New Yorker Drum Kit is available now. PDP. I have sticks, Also Pice. Oh yeah, love. So it's a difference. I play Remo now, so
nice.
that brand is out. So, but much love to the team. They you know, when I was with them, everything was cool.
Yeah.
But I moved on. Shout out to Chris. You know what I'm saying? Roger at Remo. I'm glad to be a part of that team. Yeah. What else? Solomon mics, the microphone, sub microphone that's available. I got these junk hi-hats.
Oh yeah, I like those. I've been watching. Yeah.
Thank you. So those are available now. We got only a limited amount.
Great.
And yeah, just I'm wishing everybody much success, and thank you guys all for the support. Let's just keep it positive. Let's keep it going, and let's just look for ways that we can lift each other up.
Great.
Shout out to you again, brother. I appreciate you for having me on your platform.
Thank you so much, man. You take care, Daru.
You too.
And to those that are still here, please stick around for a quick second, and we're gonna watch this very beautiful video, or at least a clip of it of Daru. Oh, sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah. So this clip, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is from when I went up to Drumeo. Shout out to the Drumeo fam, you know, Jared. They doing their thing, and they had me up there. And this is I was playing along to one of my favorite premiere tracks called Breakfast at Denny's. It was crazy because it was my first time seeing him collaborate with like Brad from Marsalis.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I played my vibe on top. So that's the track that they're gonna check out. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me on your platform. God bless. Okay. Salute.
Take care. And again, to our audience, thank you so much. And also, and since he's giving shout outs, thank you to Juilliard for letting me set up in this drum room, do this interview. So y'all take care. Enjoy this video.
When does it stop? They got 6 African-American Secret Service agents assigned to guard the President of the United States who refused service at a Denny's restaurant in Maryland. Now, Denny insists they don't discriminate, but still, you gotta wonder when that chef's hat is pointed, Everybody's sitting around eating that Grand Clan breakfast. You gotta get a little suspicious. Yeah. Oh, that's it. Okay. Thank you.